In this video, we're going to learn how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. So the example on the left just says factor. This is an expression. So I have no GCF. I have three terms, so I'm going to use AM trinomial because there's a 1 in front. So 2 parentheses, square root the first piece, use my sign trick, and I'm multiplying to 5, so my only options are 1 and 5. Bigger number comes first, so this is my answer for factoring. The directions for the right side say solve, and notice that now there's an equal 0 here. So when there's an equal 0, that makes it an equation. And when it's an equation, our final answer has to say x equals, or it has to be in a solution set. So this is the same that we just did here, so I'm just going to copy over my factors. If it wasn't the same, I would need to factor first. But because it's equal 0, I'm going to tee off. So I have x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. A little solving on each side. I get x equals negative 5 and x equals 1. So you could leave it just like this if you wanted to, or you may see it written in a solution set. So what's the difference between factoring and solving? Factoring is for an expression. Solving is for an equation. When I solve, I have to tee off, and my answer should be x equals some number. For a factoring or an expression, my answer should be some kind of parentheses. So let's take a look at a few more examples. So number 1, I have 2 terms. You'll notice here, hopefully, that it's dots, so I'm going to square root each piece. I get 3x plus 4 and 3x minus 4, but it's a solving question. There's an equal 0, so I have to carry that down. I'm going to tee it off. 3x plus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4 on both sides. Divide by 3. Same thing over here. 3x minus 4 equals 0. A little solving. So my answers are x equals 4 over 3 and negative 4 over 3. Or I like to shorten it and write plus and minus 4/3. If you take a look at number 2, we have to set it equal to 0 first. That should always be your first step. And the ones that we did before were already set equal to 0, so that's why we skipped that portion. So I like to use my x squared as my magnet and bring everything else over to it. So I'm going to start by subtracting 5x on both sides. So I have x squared minus 5x equals 0. I have a GCF here. So I have an x, and then left over x minus 5. This is why factoring is so important, because if you can factor, you can also solve. Now I'm going to tee off. I get x equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0. The left side, there's nothing to solve. The right side, I'm going to get x equals 5. And then our last example, once again, I have to set it equal to 0 first. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. This time, when I add 5 on the left, I have like terms, so you have to be careful. Line it up nice and neatly. X squared minus 11x plus 24. There's no GCF. I have 3 terms. I have a leading coefficient of 1. I'm going to use AM factoring. So I should get two parentheses. I'm going to get an x in the beginning of each parentheses. If it lets me scroll down. Using my sign trick, I have a minus and a minus. 24 is 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, or 4 and 6. It should be 3 and 8. Bigger number goes first. It's an equation or a solving question, so I'm going to tee off. Take a shortcut if you want. You know that it's the opposite, hopefully by now. If not, that's okay. Write it out, solve it each time. So my answers here are 3 and 8. So that's how you solve a quadratic equation by factoring.